Hey, this is Peter, coming to you live again to give you a little bit of a operational overview of what we're doing for our continued Pining for the Fjords campaign, if you will. I'll use the term loosely. It was originally just for the fun of it, right? Just to kind of set up a quick operational area in my favorite time period, the kind of like the mid to late Cold War U.S. Soviet operations in and around the coast of Norway, the Norwegian Sea. It's kind of the operational area that was depicted in the Hunt for October. As a matter of fact, they show some of the area in a couple screenshots, which I can show at some point. But let me go through the scenario here. This part two, if you will, is Operation Golden Eye. Yes, I love to mix varied 80s and 90s movie references in my scenarios, and hopefully everybody gets the Pining for the Fjords joke as well. So we are in the Norwegian Sea operational area, August 27th, 1987. Currently is 1800 hours. Okay, so it's a little later in the day. Speaking of the day and the environment, sunrise 0330, sunset 1945, moonrise 1150, moonset 0112. I think I stole that from the jump start, but the sea state is a little different. We have a moderate sea of state 3. Wind is from 240 at true at 15. No cloud cover, visibility 80%. Maximum depth currently in the area, and I'll show a little bit more about this, is deep 4 in the immediate starting area. I think I'll show you how that looks. Convergence zones are at intervals of 30 nautical miles, but only at the 2,000 meters and above depth. It's not available in the immediate starting area. I will show you why here in a moment. No bottom bounce available. There's a moderate layer between the shallow and intermediate 1 depth bands. An evaporative duct is present, usable by small and B small. Okay. The operational situation. Operation Goldeneye has begun. Strategic goal is to provide diversionary surface ship attacks and shore bombardment to pull resources away from the insertion point. The Providence is running fast towards a deployment or insertion point for an SDV or a SEAL delivery vehicle. So far, our assigned players are Javi, Garrett, Mike D, and then it's from the notorious Mike D, Connor B, Dylan Jones out of the UK, and 2020 Cook, I believe also in the UK currently. So good UK represent there. Um, Surface Task Force groups heading due 020 true at 15. The victory conditions all ships to survive. Providence making it to the insertion point, which I'll show you in a moment, within 24 hours and loitering 9 minutes to deploy the vehicle. All ships surviving would be a tactical. Not making it within 24 hours, any other, as long as everybody survives, you know, tactical victory, not a strategic one, if you will. All right. Okay. We have a. Let me just show you this. Well, I'm not going to show you directly a sheet, but let me show you how I have this set up. So we have all of our sheets in here, as well as the turn orders. We have turn orders being submitted here. I'm not going to show it because I don't want the subs to see what we're doing, and I'll explain that here in a moment. So pretty cool setup. If I don't mind saying so. And what's also cool is we have. Hopefully, I don't show too much here. And worst case scenario, we're only one turn into it. So I figured if I show anything, I shouldn't show somebody. At least it's only a turn in. All right. So what we do is we have a separate surface unit. The surface task group, which is 4 ships for the blue side, is all in a separate room, right? At least initially they were able to talk in the larger room, okay? But then we separated the surface group now into its own room for talking about its orders without the submarine captains knowing. And speaking of that, I have 2 separate channels. One for Alabama, which is a boomer out of Bama, and Providence, which is an LA class, which is the one that the subsurface unit that has the SEAL delivery vehicle. And I'll get a little bit more into the scenario here in a moment. Setup. All right, so that's the basic thing. So we had the main channel, which is where I tell people that I tell people where that things are ready, and I'm ready to get more this and that and the other. Another cool thing is we set up a satcom channel. So the theory here is it'll be very Twitter-like, which I know is annoying, purposely so. So what we're going to do is, as surface units, or well, primarily the surface units and/or HQ needs to get information to the subsurface units, they will queue their messaging likely through the surface channel, right? They'll queue a message in kind of like a traditional 80s, 90s movie format, if you will. Probably not exactly accurate, but hey, who cares? We're going cinematic here a little bit. All right, so then the messages will queue up here, and as the subsurface units deploy either a radio buoy or a radio mast, then they can at least receive over. It might take a little bit to receive the whole message because of the wavelengths and timing involved. I think if it's SATCOM, it's usually UHF or EHF. By the way, you should definitely check out the Groups IO comment from Chris Carlson in regards to ESM and radio transmissions, which was very helpful, by the way, Chris, if you're watching this. All right, so let's get into the meat of the scenario itself. Hopefully I have this set up good. All right, so what we got here, turn the circles on. I just happened to, all right, so here's just the surface units. Simpson, which I believe is an OH Perry. Thorn, which is a Spruance. I think it's an enhanced Spruance or updated Spruance that has Tomahawk missiles. I don't know. We kind of debated whether that's historically accurate. The Thorn definitely eventually had the VLS system and the Tomahawks, but we kind of cheated a little bit and gave it to it by August of 1987. Who cares? Whatever. Eventually, it definitely got it. We don't know the exact year. I don't think it was that year. I've seen pictures of it without the VLS, but whatever. It's okay. We also have a Ticonderoga class cruiser, helmed by Dylan Jones, I believe. And we have a Miller, which this is an enhanced Spruance. The USS Miller. Let me see if I wrote that right. Is FF1091. Let me get the exact designator. It's a Knox class. I'm sorry, I just forgot it was a Knox class destroyer. So I tried to mix it up a little bit in this pretty cool scenario. Right now, these circles are just showing the SPS 55 from. Can't remember where I did this from. From the small. So this was from the OH Perry, the frigate, the USS Simpson. All right. So what I'm showing here was I was just initially showing that. What the hell? I'll talk about radar a little bit. So versus small here versus medium. These are the radar technical limitations, right? Versus small and medium. But this is with duct versus small, and with the evaporative duct versus medium, etc. I was just kind of initially showing myself and the players how far they can see. This is active, of course, so this would be the radar line of sight for ESM capabilities, but then you have to multiply that by the variable or the factor for the combat system. I believe the Simpson is a third gen, so we would get a 1.3 multiplier on this. So in effect, Simpson probably sees out to about here as far as ESM is concerned, as far as passive detection, blah blah blah, whatever. Didn't mean to get into that, but that's that. All right, so the main goal again is for Providence to insert the SEAL delivery vehicle at this point, at this location point. There's talk already amongst, we had like an ops room conversation to start things off. And so the subsurface captains were allowed to talk to the surface group, before we started, basically. But now that they've started, they're they're submerged, right? So Alabama, I believe, is going to try to kind of meet up with Providence here-ish. I think that's the intention. Um, I think there's also talk of Thorne firing a diversionary tomahawk, which I thought was interesting. Um, I don't know what they're going to target, but I think it's purely diversionary. There are SAM installations in the area. Let me see if I have that picture. I think I have it up here somewhere at some point. Okay, there's a couple things I wanted to show. Bear with me. Bear with me. Okay, here's kind of like the operational area. The SEALs eventually. So the SEAL delivery is going to be here. How realistic this is, hey, we can argue that later. Any SEALs watching this can yell at me via direct message if they want. I will definitely accept that. So the main target is the EIS CAT satellite or ISCAT satellite facility. It's a pretty significant radar installation in the area. It's not. It's used for upper atmosphere detections. You can look it up later, but I just kind of reused it as kind of like a golden eye satellite. Yes, a golden eye satellite control, and that the Russians are using it to basically interface with one of their Star Wars satellites, if you will. But hey, we're not going to get too deep into the geopolitical situation here. But what I show here is that this would be why they're not going to use a helo insertion. It's pretty heavily laden with SAM, mobile SAM units in the area. Tromso Airport has been taken by the Soviets, and the entire area of northern Norway, pretty much up to about this line, is in Soviet control. Sweden is also in Soviet control. It's been about a week. We're about a week into World War III, if you will. So that's that. Let me just show you a little bit about the area. Okay, again, here is Tromso. Here we are here. You can kind of see the shelf here. Actually, it's pretty visible from satellite view. A really weird area, honestly. Look at the shelf. It's really weird. It's a weird area to be so operational in, especially for submarine units coming out of Kola. This is this is not very deep, and I'll show you what I mean by that here in a moment. If we switch over to this bathymetric data viewer, hopefully I said that right. I'm not a geoscientist. Let's take a look at the area. I kind of wanted to show you how deep it actually is. How deep is your sea? How deep is your sea? A little Bee Gees action for you. So we're operating right about here. Probably not the best operational area to pick, but hey, that's where we're at, and that's what we're trying to do. So if you click here, you'll actually get the meters. As you can see, it's very varied. So here's 250 meters, etc. I mean, it's all over the place. Get this out of the way. So the conversion zones are only available here, and I think I had a picture of that down yonder here. I kind of showed this, but here's where I kind of showed everybody the fact that the convergence zones are not available in the immediate area. So the only thing is that, of course, if Soviet subsurface units come from this way, they still probably wouldn't even get it against their ships because of, I mean, it's a pure shelf, as you can see there. So if the Soviets come from this direction, pretty much anywhere, I mean, nobody's going to get the CZs, at least right away, unless things move out to offshore. So again, they're trying to get you're trying to insert the seal unit right around here. And that's the story so far. Um, and we're only a turn into this, so we'll see how it gets. So this is the first time I'm doing a true full, I guess, quadruple blind, if you will, where you have a surface task group that can't directly communicate throughout with their supporting subsurface units and so forth. So things could get squirrely, and these guys won't know. Things could get squirrely over here, and they might not know, right? So they don't. So you got to kind of pre-plan what you're gonna do. It's really cool. It's really interesting. I really love double blind Kriegspiel type wargaming, and this alongside with being using Harpoon 5 has been very exciting. It's been interesting and exciting. All right, that's that. Have a good one.